Good morning. Today is Sunday, March 22nd, and I hope you, if you've joined me, whether live or recorded, I hope that you're enjoying some of the scenery and the music. Unfortunately, the video is not very smooth, and I don't believe it has to do with my machinery, but the number of, I think the internet providers are probably experiencing, what do they say with the telnet, unusually a high call volume. So that may have something to do with it. I've wasted a bunch of time trying to troubleshoot it, and it is what it is. You know, a still picture can still be very rich in beauty. It'd be nice to have that smooth streaming. You can find these videos on YouTube all day long, and you know, if you can't be there in one of these paradisical places, is that a word? Paradise-looking places, you can certainly help your imagination to be there. So anyway, today I'm going to get back on Psalm 91. This is going to be a very this isn't something that you just do and move on. You know, these are truths that very, very few believers even really truly internalize and manifest in their whole personal way of being, you know, way of thinking. I don't want to get woo-woo and metaphysical, but there is something to what you believe. You know, Bible say, Jesus said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. What does that really mean? Now, I don't claim to understand that. Having to do with frequencies, or, you know, what does that mean? Faith and belief, and when you believe something, does it really manifest? Okay, I believe I'm a millionaire. Well, isn't there some truth to that? If you believe you're deserving of that kind of income and pay or profit, you are. Let me put it this way: it's probably easier said and understood this way. If you don't believe that you can attain that, or that you will have that kind of thing in your life, whatever it may be, you won't. I think that's the easiest way to understand it. Let's look at it this way. And before I get into reading, and I'm going to read, and I understand that. Well, let me make it clear. There's a radio program and a broadcaster that I like to listen to him a lot, but I'd rather hear what he has to say than when he reads books. And even though the book he's reading I may be interested in, I'm not a very good audiobook guy. Those people are professional readers. And it doesn't go down it doesn't grab me like if someone's just speaking from their heart, from their mind. It's easy for them to go too fast, to not pause. So I try to do that, and I also, especially if I make an aside, I'll try to read the sentence again. I'll share with you what I'm reading. I'm going to be reading from Matthew Henry's commentary on these verses, and generally I've been reading from Charles Spurgeon, but Matthew Henry's another one that I try to learn from and admire. So I want to read Psalm 91, but I want to read it in the negative. And maybe that would be enough just for this video today, or this meditation on it. But if we put in the negative, we can, just like you take a photograph, sometimes you can see things in the photograph you never would have seen if you did not do a contrast view of it. You know, reverse the colors, or make it black and white, that kind of thing. So Psalm 91 starts, he that dwelleth in the secret, and once again, I'm reading from the King James. I may polish it a little bit. I may not. Don't let it trip you up because it's some of that stuffy language, okay? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. What's a noisome pestilence? It's a virus. It's a plague. It's a leprosy. You name it, right? So let's read it in the inverse, a negative. He that doesn't dwell in the secret place of the Most High will not abide under the shadow of the Almighty. He will say of the Lord, He's not my refuge and my fortress, or my God. In Him I won't trust. And, you know, with the advent of being able to connect with all kinds of people in all kinds of ways through the internet and social media, you can see people's comments on news articles or on people's posts or in groups on pages or on Twitter. And you find there are every kind of person out there, and plenty of them are pretty noisy about saying at every opportunity, you can believe in your sky god, you can believe in your there is no God, it's a myth, there is no God. So, you know, I've seen a lot of this, and it's, on one hand, it's sad, you know. You have to at least respect those people who are not so daft as to believe in some kind of higher intelligence. Even though it may be a false god, they believe there's something higher than them. And the others, they believe they came from slime, I guess, or that they themselves are gods, or this whole world and everything is an illusion. That's pretty self-serving. They may be nice people and everything, and they're not the kind of people I'd really want to be around. I think their toxicity would manifest sooner rather than later from that core belief. All right, so some of these people say of the Lord, He's not my refuge and my fortress or my God. In Him I won't trust, because they don't believe there is a God. That's one. Okay. Others believe not this God. They believe in another God. They believe in Krishna, or they believe in Vishnu, or Kali, or Allah. Allah is a moon god, and some argue, well, Allah is just another word for God. One thing the Islamists have going for them is that it's ostensibly a monotheistic religion. Because, well, so I'm getting off far field here. Surely He will not deliver you from the snare of the fowler, or from the noisome pestilence. And I'm just going to go ahead now, and now you got the hang of it, I'm going to read it in negative. He will not cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you won't trust. You might not read it because you won't trust. His truth will not be your shield and buckler. And you will be afraid of the terror by night, and the arrow that flies by day, and for the pestilence and disease that walks in darkness, and for the destruction that wastes at the noonday hour. 1,000 will fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, and it will also come to you. I mean, do you see what I mean? It's powerful. And I'm just making this up as I go along and reading it and flipping it around. And with your eyes you will not behold and see the reward of the wicked. In fact, you will be rewarded for your wickedness, because you have not made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, your habitation. There shall evil befall you. Now for the believer it says, there shall no evil befall thee. But to flip it around, you could say, there shall be all evil befalling you, and plague will come near your house. He will not give His angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. They won't bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And you will not tread upon the lion and the adder, or the young lion and the dragon. You won't trample them under your foot. Now, what does that mean? Think about this. I talked about it a week ago. or in the past week. The lion, Satan roams about as a roaring lion, and he's likened to a serpent. And we have the authority as believers to tread upon him. We can rebuke him. We can put on the armor of the whole armor of God and defend ourselves and have mastery, right? But those who don't dwell in the secret place of the Most High, those who don't say of the Lord that he is their refuge and their fortress, and those who do not trust in the Lord, they will not be victorious over the wiles of the devil, right? And his minions. He's not alone. He has a third of the angels that fell. So there's fallen angels, there's demons, and there's Satan himself, Lucifer. Because he has not set his love upon me, therefore I won't deliver him. I won't set him on high because he doesn't even know my name. He won't call upon me, so I won't answer him. I won't be with him in trouble, and I won't deliver him and honor him. I would add, or maybe you could even look at it this way, the Lord saying, I can't deliver him and honor him. He won't call upon me. I can't answer him. He won't call upon me. And with a short life will I dissatisfy him and hide from him my salvation, or withhold from him my salvation, or my hands are tied in saving him. You know, we could read that. If I'm not careful, I could read this. It makes it sound like the Lord is cruel or vindictive. And that's not the Lord I know. Been plenty of times he could have been vindictive or cruel to me, my own little life. And he has not been. If anything, he's been abundantly merciful, abundantly gracious. Do I live in that on a cloud all day long thinking, oh, how blessed am I? No. In fact, maybe the only time I'm really have my head in that is as I'm talking to you about it. And glimmers of moments where I know it's true, where things happen and I just thank the Lord, your goodness and mercy has been following me around. Thank you. So I hope that exercise was instructive, revelatory, edifying. Now let's read it the way it's meant for you and for me, and what we need to appropriate these times. People are going out these days, and they're not going to forget their vinyl or latex gloves, maybe even double put on 2 pair. They're not going to forget their antibacterial soap at the store, or to have hand sanitizer in their purse. They're not going to forget their surgical mask. Well, let's not forget to appropriate our protections in these times of trouble. Do you know that even believing these things can buoy up your immune system? Where's the data? I don't know. You find it if you need it. I know it. I know it's true. If you want to think like that all the time, good luck. A lot of things you need to just have faith, brother. You need to have faith, sister. You believe in things that are unseen. That's faith. Now, does that mean if you get in a car accident and sever your foot, that you say, I'm going to pray my foot grows back. Don't just send the ambulance away. I'll be okay. And then bleed out over Route 66, or wherever. Okay? A man once said, God did not give you a mind and reason, and expect you to forego its use. In fact, I've got a challenge to me. I sent out an email to some people. They're older people, and I believe the church they go to is pretty lukewarm, and I know them, and I've attended there before. And I stopped going now and again for months at a time because I just can't take it. But I'll tell you what, I encouraged them to be, I shared an article about this pastor in Louisiana who they met in spite of the governor saying, oh, you can't meet, more than X number of people. And I told them, be strong and courageous. These are times that the world's going to push you around. But does that mean, what if they said you can't fellowship with anybody outside of your own four walls? Are you going to obey that? Really? You're going to believe everything they tell you? Jeez, you're lost. You're going to be run up, down, sideways, jumping through hoops, bending over for these people. Let me put it that way. Gently. Okay? And this woman writes me back, well, if you're sick and you can't even draw a deep breath and you have scarring of the lungs, will you go to a doctor then? Lady, that's a lady, by the way. I told them in the email, you be responsible. You do whatever you want. You handle your own business. It's not my business. But I'm encouraging you to not be afraid. And have faith, And either believe this Bible stuff or don't. But you can't have it both ways. You really can't. You need to choose. I need to choose. It doesn't mean you're impractical, right? Anyway, I haven't really responded to this yet because on one hand, I really want to say something snarky. On the other hand, I want to be gentle. On the other hand, I can't be bothered. And I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to handle that because, she is attacking. First of all, she believes the fear propaganda like that. But someone like me who challenges it, who questions that, she would rather challenge someone who reminds you of your faith and the truth and the promises of God. And that's all I did. In a prior email, and then I just sent out the news article and I said, be bold and courageous. I admire those people who met. They're being bold and courageous. Now, someone who might be on oxygen or who has asthma or COPD or something, if this virus is what they're purporting it to be, and they feel that if they got a cold from somebody, if they catch a cold, they're going to have a hard time. They might just be a little bit foolish if they don't really believe it's okay for them to go and meet. That might be stupid. I mean, come on. I don't cotton well to people who they want one extreme or another. It's either all or nothing. So you have to, I have a hard time listening to people who, and I have to do it myself as I'm reading or I'm talking or I'm doing a video of some kind, and then I've got to cover all the little bases for those people who say, yeah, but, what if, are you saying that? No, I'm not saying that. If you had half a brain, you'd understand, I don't need to say that I'm not saying that. But they're looking for every which way. Jesus encountered this. Not his real name, by the way. He encountered this all the time with the scribes and the Pharisees. They would challenge him as to what he was saying or what it would. They'd extrapolate it to something he wasn't saying. Anyway, moving on. So let's read it as it's meant to be. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Now, if you've seen any of these prior videos or listened to this, I've changed where I'm looking to read. Hopefully this helps a little bit. I don't feel I'm straining my my throat as I'm looking up at a monitor above. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. And again, I have to say, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. I'm not going to trust in my pastor. I'm not going to trust in my fear-mongering pastor who kowtows and bows to the government because they got to keep their 501c3 business status and tax status. Because they do. So many of them do. They're not fit to be your pastor. There you go. Point blank. They're not fit to be pastors. They're not pastors. They're shills. And sadly, many of them are well-meaning shills. They were groomed up in these Jesuit-infiltrated seminaries and taught perverted versions of the word and doctrines and given lots of things to consider to confuse the hell out of them, to take them away from having childlike faith in Christ and the word and trust to all these convoluted suppositions and hacking the word and turning it this way and that way and throwing in suspect histories and etymologies of words and understandings of ancient cultures and things like that to cast all kinds of shadows and light, so they don't even know what's right and true anymore. They're polluted. And they come out and get a good job and a nice, what do you call those? What do you call the houses they live in? You already know the word, and I'm struggling for it. What's the word? Well, like a church will have a house the pastor lives in. I can't think of the word. It's escaping me at the moment. Nice house and cushy salary, and nobody's really writing about their work schedule, are they? Who is writing the pastor? The pastoral board? I'll tell you what, they sure don't like to hunt for pastors. It's a pain in the butt. So the guy maybe visits the sick in the hospital. He goes in on Friday and he's there all morning in his office, can't be disturbed, works up his sermon for Sunday. Probably a lot of them aren't even getting the sermon from out of their own spirit and direction from the Lord. They get a playlist from the higher ups, and maybe they can embellish it somewhat, throw in an anecdote here. I would wonder, this is pretty cynical, but I don't wonder they get a template with half the sermon written and a lot of fill in the blanks to personalize it. I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it. And people trust them when they all of a sudden put on their dire faces, just like Robert Muir or whatever his name is on the news, who can just, with his inflection, he's perfect for this. He's a good-looking guy, and he puts on this inflection and tone that makes everything sound like the end of the frickin' world, and that you need to be concerned. I forget which outlet he's on, but last name's Muir. I think his first name's Robert. Name is David Muir. I don't know. Isn't there a guy that had to do with nature? Muir? I forget. I'm kind of going on a sidetrack there. All right, enough of that. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. I want to expound on that noisome pestilence for a second. Noisome. Let's see here. When I'm streaming this stuff and recording it as well, it's my software's a little slower sometimes. Okay, ruin, calamity, mischief, a mischievous thing, naughtiness, perverse thing, substance, very wickedness, also plague and disease, destroying plague. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shall you trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Let's just stop there and go through those four, okay? Because there's a lot to share from Matthew Henry, who I really admire. This guy, his commentary is so big and so well done. I mean, you could compare it, like I've got a book of all of Shakespeare's works. It's one of the biggest books I have next to the dictionary. And Matthew Henry's commentary is as big or bigger. In fact, I would argue it's bigger because the print is tiny. It was so tiny when I bought this book back in 2000-ish. No, 2002, I think it was. 2003, somewhere around there. I bought like one of those magnifying glass things that looks like a piece of paper. I get a piece of plastic that's a magnifier. Because I thought I'm going to need this, Well, thankfully, I have it at my disposal online. I can make it any size I want now, and I can put that entire commentary on my phone. You could too. You could get eSword. It's free for your computer, and then there's you can get that on iPad for a couple $, and you can get it on on Android as what's it called? It's not eSword. SwordNet or something, but it's all the same. I mean, it's not the same developer, but it works a lot the same. and has the same resources pretty much. All right, let's start off in Psalm 91 verse. It says, in these verses we have a great truth laid down in general, that all those who live a life of communion with God. Now remember, dwells in the secret place of the Most High. What does that really mean? Okay. All those who live a life of communion with God are constantly safe under his protection, and may therefore preserve a holy serenity and security of mind at all times. I'm going to put some emphasis here and there to help with the reading. And also, maybe it's going to pique your, it's going to make it more impactful. That means in this time, in this hour, in this age, even though this was written hundreds of years ago, and the Psalm 91 was written thousands of years ago, it's true today. He that dwells, that sits down in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. He that by faith chooses God for his guardian shall... Now, excuse me if my accent, sometimes it comes out a little funny. God. It's a little thin there. I'll tell you what I don't like is I hear some of them, there's changes a lot. Sometimes they say God. Let's not be pretentious, okay? He that by faith chooses God for his guardian shall find all that in him which he needs or can desire. Note 1. It is the character of a true believer that he dwells in the secret place of the Most High. He is at home with God, returns to God, and reposes in him as his rest. Let's think about that. Are you very uncomfortable when it comes to things of God or talking about it, or you feel ashamed or a little bit guarded? Are you at home with God, or is it as natural as breathing air? Do you return to God when you know you've done wickedly, when you've sinned, when you've done X, Y, or Z, whatever your besetting sins may be? Maybe you lied, maybe you cursed. I mean, it could be the gamut. That even, all the things it could be, I just touched on two that in comparison may seem very light. But I don't need to do the litany of sins. They're all the sins, okay? If you've done any of them, yet you return to God, you have godly sorrow. You feel convicted when you know you've done wrong, when you've sinned. And you return to God and acknowledge your sin and ask him to cleanse and forgive you and help you. And even if it's something you've done again and again, he's made provision for that. He even said to us when he was asked, how many times should I forgive someone? 7 times? And he said 70 times 7. Meaning again and again and again, multiplied. Well, 490 times, is that it? And after that, come on. What was he meaning? Right? Anyway, moving on. I got a bunch to plow through here, and so me, I can end up talking a little too much. He acquaints himself with inward religion and makes heart work of the service of God, worships within the veil, and loves to be alone with God and to converse with him in solitude. Now, right there, when you want to know what is, for a long time I wondered, what is the secret place of the Most High? And it is that religion, if you will. I don't like that word because that means like building, like laws that you keep to get to have a relationship with God. But I also don't want to go down the path of saying spirituality. What I mean is that pure religion, which is it is independent of what anybody knows about you or thinks about you or any vain show. It's giving in secret. It's praying in secret. It's communion with God in secret. It doesn't have to be secret, but it means that it's genuine, like it's a real thing for you, and it's a real fellowship with God. It's inward religion. You're acquainted with inward religion, not that's outward. Many, many people have an outward religion. Is it not true? Make it heart work. I love that word, heart work. It's heart work. Okay? It is the privilege, and please forgive me, I'm just reading this and just thinking and talking, and I don't mean to be talking at anyone. This is for me too. I'm doing this for me. I'm getting my day shored up, having breakfast, if you will. It is the privilege and comfort of those that do so that they abide under the shadow of the Almighty. He shelters them and comes between them and everything that would annoy them, whether storm or sunshine. They shall not only have an admittance, but a residence under God's protection. He will be their rest and refuge forever. 2. This is all like written outline form, the Roman numeral 2. The psalmist's comfortable application of this to himself. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge. I will say of the Lord, whatever others say of Him, He is my refuge. I choose Him as such and confide in Him. Others make idols their refuge, but I will say of Jehovah, the true and living God, He is my refuge, and any other is a refuge of lies. He is a refuge that will not fail me, for He is my fortress and stronghold. Idolaters call their idols mahuzim. Okay, that's a new one for me. Their most stronghold. Okay, that's from Daniel, and that must be something in Hebrew back in Daniel. I'd have to look it up, but let's go there. Let's see. If I go to okay, I shouldn't have done that because I kind of threw myself off track here. So let's go back. All right, I messed up. Just give me one moment. Okay, but therein, I was going to try to look up that word where they got mahuzim and what that meant, but it was going to be it was messing up my place where I have it here. But therein they deceive themselves and I'm going to start over. Excuse me. Idolaters called their idols mahuzim, their most stronghold. But therein they deceive themselves. Those only secure themselves that make the Lord their God their fortress. There being no reason to question His sufficiency. Fitly does it follow, in Him will I trust. Remember, the whole verse is, I will save the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. If Jehovah be our God, our refuge and our fortress, what can we desire which we may not be sure to find in Him? He is neither fickle nor false, neither weak nor mortal. He is God and not man, and therefore there is no danger of being disappointed in Him. We know whom we have trusted. I want to add here that many, many people, because they've been spiritually abused, they were born in a home that maybe had a vain show of religion. And by and large, because the family maybe attended a church that was not correct in doctrine and many things. For example, many people are burned on religion. I've seen more people who are anti-God or anti-Christianity or neutral because they were raised in the Catholic Church, which is to follow. And then you have to remember that most, if not all, of the quote-unquote so-called Protestant churches are her daughters. The seminaries have been infiltrated and so on, And those fruits manifest in, they become bitter fruit. Taste and see the Lord is good. Well, what if you taste and see the Lord is wrathful and vengeful and guilt-tripping and all these things that people walk away with? They don't know. This isn't to say this free grace deal where there isn't any sin and you're forgiven once and for all. Boom, let me give you a wristband. You're good to go forever. That's not what I'm saying, so let me move on here. Okay, Roman numeral 3. The great encouragement he gives to others to do likewise, not only from his own experience or the comfort of it, for in that there might possibly be fallacy, but from the truth of God's promise, in which there neither is nor can be any deceit. Surely he shall deliver thee. Those who have themselves found the comfort of making God their refuge cannot but desire that others may do so. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this not by myself, which, that doesn't mean I've never done that or never do that, but I desire, especially in these times of people being harassed. You're being harassed. More so, you're being terrorized. I'm being terrorized. We're being terrorized. These media people, even these government people, wittingly or unwittingly, maybe meaning to do well, are terrorists. They are terrorizing people. Are they not? You go take a drive right now. You see the streets empty? It's because people have been terrorized. They're in terror. It's astounding. Okay. Here's some subpoints under number 3, which has to do with 3 and 4, which again I'll read the 3 and 4. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. So, okay, the first point. That believers shall be kept from those mischiefs which they are in imminent danger of, and which would be fatal to them. From the snare of the fowler, which is laid unseen and catches the unwary prey on a sudden. And from the noisome pestilence, which seizes men unaware, and against which there is no guard. This promise protects, 1, the natural life, and is often fulfilled in our preservation from those dangers which are very threatening and very near, while yet we ourselves are not apprehensive of them any more than the bird is of the snare of the fowler. We owe it, more than we are sensible, to the care of the divine providence, that we have been kept from the infectious diseases and out of the hands of the wicked and unreasonable. 2, the spiritual life, which is protected by divine grace from the temptations of Satan, which are as the snares of the fowler, and from the contagion of sin, which is the noisome pestilence. He that has given grace to be the glory of the soul will create a defense upon all that glory. There's the contagion of sin, and leprosy in the Bible is a type and shadow of sin. It's representative of sin. And I will say that you are witnessing in me. I have been delivered from the contagion of the fear that is just wreaking havoc on the minds and souls and behavior, the economy. It's fear. I've made many a comment that fear is the virus. Now, does that mean I'm saying, and here I go, does that mean I'm saying that there is no real flu virus that is deadly and is harming people? I didn't say that. No, there is. Does that mean I won't get it? I don't believe I'm going to get it. Does that mean I'm immune for everything forever? No. Does that mean I won't die? No. Okay, see, I'm doing the very thing I despise. And I guess I shouldn't, I guess you have to do it these days. All right. And this is point 2 under Roman numeral 3. And as I read this, there's a 1 and 2 in here, okay? So these would be 1 and 2 in parentheses. I mean, not that it matters, but I'm just trying to be true to how it's structured. Okay, that God himself will be their protector. Those must needs be safe who have him for their keeper, and successful for whom he undertakes. He shall cover thee, and shall keep thee secret, and so keep thee safe. God protects believers. Can I get an amen? Have you, as a believer, ever known the protections of God, the deliverances of God? And I don't mean the big one, just the faith. You're protected from wrath eternal. You're protected from, I would say, even many consequences of sin, not just sin leading to death and eternal death. That's my testimony. He protects and delivers. Okay, subpoint 1 here. With the greatest tenderness and affection, which is intimated in that he shall cover thee with his feathers under his wings, which alludes to the hen gathering her chicken chickens under wings. By natural instinct, she not only protects them, but calls them under that protection when she sees them in danger. Not only keeps them safe, but cherishes them and keeps them warm. Isn't that beautiful? To this, the great God is pleased to compare his care of his people, who are helpless as the chickens and easily made a prey of, but are invited to trust under the shadow of the wings of the divine promise and providence, which is the periphrasis of a proselyte to the true religion, that he has come to trust under the wings of the God of Israel. And there are references, like this references Ruth 2:12, and earlier there were some references to other Psalms, but I'm not going to go there right now. I'm just going to continue. Okay, subpoint 2. With the greatest power and efficacy, wings and feathers, those spread with the greatest tenderness, are yet weak and easily broken through, and therefore it is added, his truth shall be thy shield and buckler, a strong defense. God is willing to guard his people as the hen is to guard the chickens, and as able as a man of war in armor. Now, aren't you glad? I know when I discovered reading commentaries, I was so glad. It just brings out stuff that I might normally not recognize the nuances of. You know, you have the tenderness of feathers and wings, and then the shield and buckler. So you've got the mother hen, and then you've got the man of war. Isn't that awesome? It's awesome. And I want to say that you are invited to trust. I sent out an email, and I'm referencing this because it's still kind of fresh on my mind. This woman, I don't like to tangle with her. Not that I have to tangle with her, but I know when she's there, she's been there and I've been there. Her approach and view is, you really wonder, is this person just a churchgoer? Let me put it that way. Doesn't mean she's not intelligent. Doesn't mean she doesn't make challenging points. But it just, there's something about when I invite people to trust the Lord and then she attacks me. What's that all about? Hello. So I don't know. It's too bad. It's too bad. All right. So number 3, under Roman numeral 3, that he will not only keep them from evil, but from the fear of evil. Now, right now, I've been kept from the evil of this alleged pandemic because I haven't got it that I know of. Now, I was traveling a few weeks back, a month ago or so, when I got back, and it was, I was in international airports and everything. I was around a lot of strange people from strange places, and who knows where they were coming from and who knows where they were going. And by degrees of separation, I'm sure it wasn't that many degrees away from somebody in China or wherever this stuff's been going around. And I'll tell you that I got home, and for a couple days, I had to go out and buy some Alka-Seltzer Plus and, stuff like that. Maybe I already had it. I don't know. But I will tell you this. I am definitely kept from the fear of evil. I'm definitely kept from the fear of it. If I do get sick, I'm going to make it through, whether I die or not. Now think about that, okay? I'm going to make it through. I've been delivered and kept from the fear of evil. I'm not held in bondage to fear, and you don't have to be either. Here is one great danger supposed. The mention of it is enough to frighten us. I mean, this could have been written yesterday, right? Great danger supposed. The mention of it is enough to frighten us. Night and day we lie exposed, and those that are apt to be timorous, and if that's a $3 word, meaning afraid, those that are apt to be timorous will in neither period think themselves safe. See, this everybody running around, they don't think they're safe. They don't know who to listen to, who to trust. When we are retired into our chambers, our beds, and have made all as safe as we can about us, We've locked the doors. We've set the alarm. We've got the dog. We've got our guns. Whatever, right? Yet there is terror by night from thieves and robbers, winds and storms, besides those things that are the creatures of fancy and imagination, which are often most frightful of all. How about that? Do you think that the enemy of your soul doesn't know that your imagination is worse than the realities? Because there are numbers and real diseases going around of even regular influenza that don't require imagination. There's statistical facts about them and things that are going on, how many hundreds of thousands are in the hospital each year, even now, from the regular flu. But they can give you an imagination by showing you video of somebody dropping dead in the street, or some guy who was sleeping on the subway wheezed for a second and fell on the ground, and without knowing anything of what caused that, a heart attack, maybe he had sleep apnea, he was drunk, whatever, they automatically associate it, shock value, with this ching chong cough. Okay? Do you like that? I just heard that one today. I think it's funny. It's not racist. Chinese flu, whatever. Kung flu. I like that one too. I think that's funny. We read of fear in the night. There is also a pestilence that walks in darkness. Is that was which slew the firstborn of the Egyptians and the army of the Assyrians. No locks nor bars can shut out diseases, while we carry about with us in our body the seeds of them. But surely in the daytime, when we can look about us, we are not so much in danger. Yes, there is an arrow that flieth by day too, and yet flies unseen. There is a destruction that wastes at the high noon, when we are awake and have all our friends about us. Even then we cannot secure ourselves, nor can they secure us. It was in the daytime that the pestilence wasted, which was sent to chastise David for numbering the people, on occasion of which some think this psalm was penned. But, subpoint 2, here is great security promised to believers in the midst of this danger. Thou shalt not be afraid. Let's see here. And God by his grace will keep thee from disquieting, distrustful fear, that fear which has torment. Make no mistake, fear has torment. In the midst of the greatest dangers. Wisdom shall keep thee from being causelessly afraid, and faith shall keep thee from being inordinately afraid. You see, it doesn't mean there's nothing ever to fear, that there's not some real danger. But what about when you're being afraid causelessly and being inordinately afraid? I think what we have here today, again, giving the benefit of the doubt that there has been some kind of a, whether it's bioengineered, weaponized virus, or someone through, has created or been, some pestilences jump from animal to man. I tend to believe the former, okay? And there's reasons for that. Not the least of which is that there's a lot of military biomedical research that's done in Wuhan, China. Let's see. But inordinately afraid. We don't need to be inordinately afraid. Thou shalt not be afraid of the arrow, as knowing that though it may hit thee, it cannot hurt thee. Let's read that again. You shall not be afraid of the arrow, as knowing that though it may hit you. Okay, I want to polish this up a little bit. You shouldn't be afraid of the arrow, as knowing that though it may hit you, it cannot hurt you. If it takes away the natural life, yet it shall be so far from doing any prejudice to the spiritual life that it shall be its perfection. Meaning that if it kills you, it's perfecting your spiritual life, because then you'll be made perfect once and for all. All this world will pass away. A believer needs not fear, and therefore should not fear any arrow, because the point is off, the poison is out. O death, where is thy sting? It's funny, I was ad-libbing that, and it was the next sentence. It is also under divine protection. It is also under divine direction, and will hit where God appoints and not otherwise. Every bullet has its commission. Whatever is done, our Heavenly Father's will is done, And we have no reason to be afraid of that. Now think about it. If you get sick, it's within the scope of God's, the arrow will hit where God appoints, okay? And not otherwise. Okay, the last one, 4, subpoint under 3. That they shall be preserved in common calamities in a distinguishing way. When death rides in triumph and diseases rage, so that thousands and 10,000s fall by sickness or fall by sword in battle, fall at thy side, at thy right hand, and the sight of their fall is enough to frighten thee. And if they fall by the pestilence, their falling so near you may likely to infect you, yet it shall not come nigh near you. The death shall not, the fear of death shall not. How about that? Is that not something you could print out, put it on your refrigerator, read it every day, and believe it? Read it again. When death rides in triumph and diseases rage, so that thousands and 10,000s fall by sickness or fall by sword in battle, fall at your side, at your right hand, and the sight of their fall is enough to frighten you. And if they fall by this virus, they're falling so near you, may likely to make you sick, yet it won't come near you. The death shall not, and the fear of death shall not. That's where I'm believing, man. I believe that. How in the world do you think some of these pastors could go to, during the plague, go and minister to families where the plague was in their house? You know? How about doctors? How do they manage to not get sick when they're treating all these sick people? You ever wonder that? There's a special grace upon them, or maybe there's something they're believing in their heart. They don't get sick the same way. Doesn't mean they never get sick or can't get sick or don't, but there's something to a doctor walking around in a hospital with sick people all the time, and yet they're not worried about getting sick. Do they take extreme measures? Maybe in some cases. All right, let's move on here. Those that preserve their purity in times of general corruption may trust God with their safety in times of general desolation. When multitudes die round about us, though we thereby must be awakened to prepare for our own death, yet we must not be afraid with any amazement, nor make ourselves subject to bondage, as many do all their lifetime through fear of death. And that's from Hebrews 2:15, which says, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. And Christ delivers us from the fear of death, because he is the resurrection and the life, and he will not turn anyone away who comes to him and calls upon him. But seek him while he may be found. There's coming a time where there's going to be no more time. And that happens on an individual level, and it's happening on a level of, in the terms of the end of the age, right? So I think it's very poignant that, like, as this is going on, and given that, let's say the numbers that are reported to us don't lie, and thousands of people die in Italy and this and that, we must be awakened to prepare for our own death. And when the inside job 9/11 happened, okay, when that was perpetrated, a lot of people snapped out of it for a minute. Church attendance went up. People, they had paused for a minute and thought about what could happen on a day. How long that lasted? Well, for some, it was a change in their lives forever. For others, it was a momentary. It was a blip, as far as preparing for their own death. But the sprinkling of blood secured the firstborn of Israel when thousands fell. Now this is referring to Exodus when the sprinkling of blood, I think that's what they're referring to, but the sacrificial lamb of each household, the blood was put upon the doorpost, and the angel of death went throughout the land and took the firstborn, but every house with the blood was secured. So the sprinkling of blood secured the firstborn of Israel when thousands fell. Nay, it is promised to God's people that they shall have the satisfaction of seeing not only God's promises fulfilled to them, but his threatenings fulfilled upon those that hate them. Now, God does not take any pleasure in the death of the wicked, and neither should we, right? Only with eyes shall you behold and see the just reward of the wicked, which perhaps refers to the destruction of the firstborn of Egypt by the pestilence, which was both the punishment of the oppressors and the enlargement of the oppressed. This Israel saw when they saw themselves unhurt. This Israel saw when they saw themselves unhurt and untouched. Can you imagine all the wailing that was going on that night, that morning, next morning, the next day, as discovered that it was true that the firstborn in many, many homes they died. But those who followed what was commanded and put the blood on the door, they were untouched. As it will aggravate the damnation of sinners with their eyes they shall behold and see the reward of the righteous, so it will magnify the salvation of the saints, that with their eyes they shall behold and see the destruction of the wicked. I'm not so concerned with people who are don't yet know the Lord, because by the grace of God there go I, right? And even as a believer, I can't count myself better than them, really, in many, many ways, other than I'm a man much afflicted, because someone who doesn't believe, they can just sin away and they don't feel anything about it. But you try that once you belong to him, the hound of heaven is going to bother your conscience. It's not easy to sin. Well, it may be easy to sin, but it isn't easy to get away with it. You don't even need anybody catching you. You have it in your own conscience, conviction of your heart. It's that secret place. And even you go to the Lord and it's that secret, it's that relationship that's real, that's true, that no one even, it's not for anybody it's not for show, but it's real. And you seek for forgiveness. Okay, so what I was going down this path for was, it says, as it will aggravate the damnation of sinners, that with their eyes they shall behold and see the reward of the righteous. Now look, when you're blessed or you're delivered, it ought to make them want that for themselves, not to aggravate. I mean, I don't see that as like, okay, nah, I'm protected and you're not. No, it's, or I've been delivered, or I'm blessed and you're not. I'm so blessed. Well, did you earn that? I see a lot of people wear license plates, say blessed. What kind of message does that send to the world? It's like, I am special. God loves me. Maybe there's truth in that, but at the same time, our privileges as believers, as children of God, need to be something that people desire. They want that. They're envious of it. And if they would but ask, you're willing to share the truth of the matter. You're willing to invite them to the wedding table. You're willing to invite them to the marriage supper of the Lamb. You're willing to invite them to come. I found the Messiah. Come see. Come see. Okay, well, let's just stop there. Let's see, I got to verse 8. And we'll finish Matthew Henry maybe tonight or tomorrow, his version. And maybe I'll continue on this for a while, because it's helping me. I hope it was helpful to you. Please forgive the video if it's choppy. Please forgive me if I repeat myself sometimes as I'm reading this, or lose my place, or want to kind of rewind the tape a second and go back over the sentence because I got sidetracked. Thank you for your understanding of that. As this is not a professional podcast or video or anything. It's just, I'm just doing my thing here. And I hope it's a benefit to someone. Okay, make a great day. And this is Matthew Henry's commentary. You can download it. It's massive as a written book. But if you've got an SD card or something in your phone, you're going to have no problem having this at your disposal anytime. And so you can read it for yourself. And I encourage you to do so, because you will get, the Lord will minister to you in ways only you need to be ministered, and only in the way only He can, as you read His Word and as you read some of the beautiful things that that are brought out by people like Charles Spurgeon and Matthew Henry, whose lives were, they didn't have television and internet and bars all over the place, and every place you go eat, restaurants and sports bars and everything, all the distractions. The main book they had would be the Bible at those times. And these were men who were quickened and really, I think, given a divine purpose and charge to devote themselves to study, to writing, to meditating, to praying. At this point in my life, they started at a young age. And even though I was given a start at a young age, the world pulled me this way and that, with government re-education camps institutionalized, till I was well into, adulthood. What do I mean by that, institutionalized? Think about it. You were probably institutionalized too. And then you have your cultural expectations and norms of, go to school, go to trade school or college, get a job, do this, all the programming, what you're supposed to be doing through life. And, it would have been better had I chose a very simple life and really recognized. I didn't get turned on to commentaries till much later, and I had gatekeepers that told me what the Bible said, this and that, and I could never really see the beauty that I learned later on. Like reading through this, we can see the beauty that may not be so apparent, and if I could go back and do it over, I would do it much differently in my life. I would keep things real simple. I like to make music, I like to read, and these kinds of things, and they're worthy occupations of your time. Anyway, all right, make a great day, and maybe I'll see you later. Bye.